program, Senator Ali Ndume floors Senate leadership. IPOP to boycott, not disrupt Anambra governorship election. Gombe elder slam Senator Danjuma Goje over comments on Governor Dakwambo. And later on the show, Army Sergeant kills captain, 4 others, and himself. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Titoju and Adekunle Yusuf. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
All right, Journalist Hangout starts now.
My name is Abdullahi Umar Ganouji, the governor of Kano State. I do watch journalists hang out. I don't miss it. I ask you, please don't miss it. Thank you.
Now, former Senate Majority Leader Senator Ali Ndume is a happy man at the moment. He has joined the League of Politicians who have recently tasted victory in their political tussle with their foes. His case is, however, slightly different from some of these politicians. His vibrant nature on the floor and controversial comments on issues quickly gets him into trouble with his colleagues. His stance on Senate's refusal to confirm Ibrahim Magu as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that's the EFCC, signaled the beginning of his political travail as he was kicked out as the Senate Majority Leader. Also earlier in the year, he brought the attention of the Senate to a corruption matter involving the Senate President, as well as certificate forgery against Senator Dino Melaye, and called for investigation, but was placed on 180-day legislative suspension. However, Senator Ndume's victory is no doubt good news to him and his constituents in Borno State. But the Senate is bent on appealing the verdict. I'll start with you, Judy. Should he start singing the victory song now, looking at the fact that the Senate is bent on appealing the supposed victory?
I think he can rejoice, and I'm rejoicing too, because the action of the Senate was an irresponsible one. I think the kind of Senate that we have now is one in which once you do anything that appears to embarrass Bukola Saraki, they will find a way to punish you. If you show decency, because the Senate is dominated by people who lack decency, if you choose to show decency, if you choose to tell your colleagues in the Senate that what we are doing is wrong, why don't you let us do it this way? They would descend on you like paratroopers and would want to punish you. You saw what happened with the former majority leader of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Omawurare. Omawurare, because he chose to toe the line of decency. Of course, decency is an aberration to Saraki and others. They decided to move against him. They removed him as chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges. Of course, there are so many privileges that they enjoy that you and I do not enjoy. They decided to punish Omawurare. Omawurare has been in that Senate. They've effectively buttoned up his mouth. You hardly will hear Omawurare comment on any issue in that Senate. So Bukola Saraki has turned the leadership of the Nigerian Senate into a terror weapon, whereby whatever you say, once it goes against their interests, once it goes against their desires, you are in trouble. But what we know is that it is illegal, it is irresponsible of certain elements in that Senate to want to deny people of the representation that they deserve. Because if you are the senator representing my constituency, of course my own senator is a joke, so I don't even want to talk about him. If you are a senator representing my constituency, nobody in the Senate should deny me the opportunity to be represented by that senator. By the time you suspend my senator because he chooses to toe the line of decency, you have infringed on my right to be represented. You have infringed on my right to have my views, to have my interests espoused on the floor of that Senate. And that is why, if they like, because I hear that they are going to appeal, whether if it takes 100 years, they will keep losing. They will keep losing in court. What they want to continue to, you saw what Dogara and his people too did in the House of Reps. They succeeded in chasing Jibrin away because Jibrin kicked against project pardon. Admittedly, Jibrin himself was part of those culpable. But the day he decided to toe the line of decency, even if it was belated, they decided to turn against him. Yeah. So it's the same thing that we are saying. They've been looking for a way to deal with Ndume for a long time. Remember, Ndume said some time ago that, yes, this is an opportunity that this budget has presented to us. Let us show greater transparency. Let Nigerians know a little bit about the budget of the Senate. Remember, I said that. They didn't like it, but at that time, they did not think it was worthwhile to move against him. They waited for him. He did one little thing again, then they removed him. They removed him as chairman of the House Committee. They now, of his own House, or the original House Committee that he led, and then moved him to House Committee leader for INEC. They removed him from the juicy committee that he used to occupy. Later on, that was not enough for them. On a day that the man went out, he went out to pray. Very treacherous human beings in the Senate. He went to pray. Before he came back from afternoon prayers, they had removed him. And they said, you should at least have given me a chance to defend myself. So we have a Senate that does not even believe that people deserve to defend themselves. Once you've gone against the interest of Bukola Saraki, then they will hang you. The governor of Borno State pleaded with them, went to the Senate president. The Senate president said, it's not my decision alone. Other people join me in taking this decision. So they said, okay, they will not lift his suspension. What they wanted was for Ndume to come on all fours and prostrate like a groveler, prostrate before them, before they agree. But they are not God. And that's what this judgment, the message that this judgment sends across, because they are not God, and they do not have the latitude, they don't have the power to behave just the way they like. If they like, let them appeal, they will still lose. We will be here, we will debate their second loss. All right,
I'll bring you in now, Adekunle. Do you share the same sentiment as Jide, that even if they try to appeal this, they will still lose? And what do you make of the judgment as well?
This is a judgment for democracy, because what the Senate of Nigeria has become under Bukola Saraki is a Senate of jokers. You know, under the Saraki Senate, you know, Saraki is the Senate, and the Senate is Bukola Saraki. The rules are not meant to help or protect the Senate. The rules are meant to help protect Bukola Saraki. You know, the Bukola Saraki's, you know, style of man eat man, you know, politics is the law, is everything. So in that kind of Senate, this is what happens. If you have followed the story, you know, right from when he was, you know, removed as Senate leader, I mean, I'm talking about Ndume. Yeah. And if you look at the issues upon which he was even suspended, it is laughable. And I am so sorry that a Senate president from a ruling party is doing this to a member of the same ruling party. It's ridiculous. You see, what were the offenses? Because the media carried some reports that, oh, Dino Melaye, you know, didn't pass through so university. Oh, so bulletproofs were brought in on the name of the Senate president. And the man stood up in the Senate that this matter, we should please address it so that Nigerians will know the truth. Is that a castigation of the power-hungry Bukola Saraki? Is that a castigation of, Dino Melaye? And because of the type of politics of Bukola Saraki, he quickly, put the man under trial, under, a committee headed by a PDP, an opposition. And what do you have? Even some senators of the ruling party signed the report. What happened? They say, oh, and it's only Ndume that was, given the very... So it's so sad, because what the Senate should have done in that issue should have been, oh, we didn't like the way you raised it, please apologize to us in the plenary. That's all. But to go ahead and suspend him for 6 months, the people of southern, Borno will never be happy with Bukola Saraki and his gang of, joker, senators. God himself will not be happy with them.
Now, Jide, with what you have exposed to us on how this, throws light on the kind of Senate that we have, and looking at the fact that the government is a government of transparency, ensuring that, okay, there is justice, we fight corruption. How is this, if a Senate, an arm of the government, is, having such an outlook, how does this hinder the agenda of the government?
First and foremost, Bukola and his band of lawless lawmakers do not believe in the agenda of this government. If what they've been doing from the off is to always, whenever lawmakers, senators get up to oppose an action of this government, just check the first people to speak. They will be APC senators. Because under this administration, the kind of cheap money, easy money that used to be funneled to the lawmakers, the tap of such easy monies have dried up. So they are angry, and they demonstrate their anger by continually opposing even some of the good moves of this administration. So they don't believe in the anti-corruption agenda. They don't believe in what Buhari stands for. All they are after is, what is Bukola Saraki's interest? Whether they are PDP or whether they are APC, there is only one party in the Senate, and the name of that party is Bukola Saraki. Bukola Saraki, yes. That is what binds them together. You will not hear an Akpabio play the role of an opposition party leader in the Senate. You won't. You won't hear him complain. Bukola has found a way to bring all of them under the same roof. The roof over their heads is Bukola Saraki. That is the single thing that holds them together. They don't care about the president. They don't care about the anti-corruption agenda. They don't care about Nigeria. They don't care about anything. The only thing they care about is Bukola Saraki, Abubakar Bukola Saraki, ABS. That is the only thing they care about. So forget about whether this government, the agenda of this government is empty gas to them. It makes absolutely no sense to them. They are just after their own agenda. And that is why it's been difficult. Even when they claimed that they were coming up, they were going to make their budget process transparent. If you call that transparent, then you can stand behind a black object and see yourself. If you call that one transparent, because what did they show us? Just subheads. You will not see how much is allocated to what. What goes into salaries, you will not see. They still think that they owe no Nigerian an explanation. We still do not know today how much our senators earn. The issue of their salary is treated like a cult matter, that only members of the Ogboni, only members of the cult should know. Nobody knows what they earn. Nobody. One senator was brought on national television the other day. When we asked him about how much they earn, he refused to answer. He refused. As if he told us the truth, he would die right there in the studio. He refused to talk. That is the kind of Senate that we have. And when people correct them, when people say, look, this is wrong, this is not the kind of Senate that Nigerians want, they will start saying you are being sponsored by so. Oh, they are being sponsored. Oh, those people on journalists hangout, they are sponsored by this fellow. They are sponsored by that fellow. They don't even want Nigerians to complain about their excesses. They just want everybody to keep quiet. The only thing that once you say something about them, they will say, oh, they should bring you to come and defend yourself before the Senate. When Bukola Saraki was put on trial the other day, they went after the Attorney General of the Federation. They brought him to come and explain why their Senate president was put on trial. Ridiculous people.
So, now the justice, while declaring Ndume's suspension as unlawful, urged the members of the Senate and its leadership to hold sacrosanct their standing orders, rule of law, and by extension, the Constitution of the Federal Republic.
If you read the judgment very well, it was so glaring that the Senate of this country does not have the power to suspend one of their own members for 6 months. But in a lawless Senate under Saraki, because this is the worst Senate in the history of this country, I've been saying the same thing since last year. When you look at what happens under this Senate, and I'm sad that some of our, respectable, Nigerians that are in the Senate, they have also been cowed by Saraki. That's the way I see it. Because when you don't say any of them, they'll be silenced. And many of them, they can't talk.
They can't. They no longer talk.
They cannot talk. So the judge said the Senate should stop. What the Senate did is an exhibition of lawlessness. So, and you don't need any other proof to know that lawlessness runs in the veins of the men and women who populate the Nigerian Senate of today. That they are so shameless that they are going on appeal. What is so big? What's the big deal about a member of the Senate that you don't want to see him?
Maybe there's something more to it.
What was the offense?
No,
What
because
did
he
he do?
refused to apologize.
What did he do? At the point in September, he was being asked to withdraw the court case, and that he should come and prostrate to them and all that. For what for? And I know for sure since they started, because when you look at the report of the Senate committee that tried Ndume, they wanted him to stay in his house for 1 year. So they knew that if he had gone, so they now did like Father Christmas, reduce it to 6 months. So when you do it 6 months, if he goes to court, then you continue to rigmarole, go to appeal court.
Why would they want to really ridicule, so to speak, him, the person of Ndume?
So that once you remove the man from him, once you remove the man, he will not be able to go back to his past.
Of taking a stance against...
Yes. What is his past? His past is saying the truth, talking about what he thinks is right, not what Bukola thinks is right. I know. So once you remove the man from him, you diminish him as a man by making him to grovel at your feet, making him to prostrate like a lizard for you people, then it will now permanently button up his mouth. That is what they want.
Then too, to add to what he just said, it's just a classic example of scapegoating. That you want to use somebody as a scapegoat. So a powerful senator like Ndume, if he can be handled this way, what about me?
Once it's deconstructed.
What about
once it's deconstructed, others will keep quiet.
Senator will be, has already been whipped into line because of Ndume's, case. So that is
an example.
That's yes, that is the Saraki of our time for you.
All right. So if I come to you now, Jide, quickly before we move on now. So if they are appealing this case and you believe that they will not win, where does this leave Ali Ndume?
Ali Ndume should remain himself. They didn't.
Returning back to the Senate or not?
If they won't allow him to come in at this time, but ultimately, they are wasting their time because by the time he comes in, you will pay his salaries and allowances for all of that. I remember when Dino Melaye was suspended as the House of Reps member. That time when he was beating up
Yes.
all those old men in the House of Reps then, because he was younger. They eventually, he went to court, and Dino won. Now after Dino won, all of the salaries, you know, that allowances, the court ordered that they should pay him.
Just as they have done.
Yes, because yes, at the end of the day, Dimeji Bankole taught him a lesson, but his salaries were paid to him. So I believe that invariably the lawmaker from Borno South will win. Time is a gentleman. He will win, and the people who suspended him will be put to the shame that they deserve.
All right, let's move on now. After this break, IPOP to boycott, not disrupt the Anambra governorship elections. Stay with us. All right, all eyes are gradually shifting to Anambra State, where another governorship election is to take place this weekend. Anambra has remained constant in the news for months since the activities of the indigenous people of Biafra escalated. Tensions have soared in some eastern parts of the country after a series of confrontation with Nigeria security personnel and the final prescription of the group as a terrorist organization. Members of IPOP had issued threats concerning the Anambra election, warning members of the public to stay clear as it will not allow it to hold. But in a sudden change of tone, the group has said it does not intend to disrupt the forthcoming election, but only seeks for it to be boycotted. It alleges that the election is not going to be in the best interest of the people. Well, the sudden change of tone or change of words from IPOP, one wonders what could have changed their minds suddenly? What could have made them change their minds or their sudden tone?
I would say face saver. One, the group is proscribed, and they've been largely inactive since the proscription. The group will not be able to stop the election because the determination of Ndi Anambra to elect their governor is wrong. So they lack the capacity to stop the election from holding because the IPOP has been pushed to the backwaters. These days, you rarely even hear about them. So maybe at the height of his powers, they could have made many people to stay away from the election by that threat, you know, because what was IPOP saying, that there has to be a referendum, and referendum is not known to the Nigerian Constitution. If you want a referendum, then talk to the people in the National Assembly. Let's have the Constitution amended to allow for a referendum. But as things stand, the Nigerian Constitution has no place for a referendum. So now, if people will not agree to a referendum, if the government of the day will not agree to a referendum, you now say you are going to stop the election from holding. So As things stand now, nobody knows where Cardon is. The group has become a disparate one. So they've lost the capacity to mobilize as they used to do. They no longer even hold public rallies and all that. So they couldn't have done anything about the election. So now they are saying, well, we will not stop the election from holding, but we will only appeal to people to boycott. They will not succeed in getting people to boycott the election because this election has at least 3 strong candidates. You know, even the former aviation minister, the former FRSC man, has shown by his performance that he is a candidate to reckon with because he actually knows what the problems are. So this is an election that so many people are interested in. So they will not be able to do anything about the election. I read about the comment of Stella Odua that if you don't allow election to hold, there will be a state of emergency. That's the height of ignorance. Nobody can impose a state of emergency on any part of Nigeria in today's Nigeria. Obasanjo imposed state of emergency based on an antiquated 1963 law. Nobody can do that again. Even at the height of Boko Haram insurgency, it was suggested that to Goodluck Jonathan that he should impose a state of emergency that would take away all the political structures. But he said, no, I cannot do that because it's unconstitutional. So Stella Odua had no reason saying that, oh, yeah, a state of emergency. Nobody, President Buhari cannot impose a state of emergency anywhere that will take away the political structures. It's just an empty threat.
All right, articulate. The group said that the concept of disrupting the poll was to discredit them. What do you make of that statement?
You know, when they were very, very strong, not now that they have been thoroughly decimated, maybe that was possible. But now election is just a few days, you know, start. Having seen the enthusiasm among the people, what can they do? They just try to find a way to just ridicule the outcome of the election. You see, some of the candidates are young guys. For example, look at, is it Tony Nwoye, who is saying there, go and see what's happening. He's saying among the youths, you know, love that guy thoroughly. You know, somebody who is a student. So you see the way people do their thing there, and who are the people that IPOP normally, you know, recruits? These are the young elements. So how do you now persuade them when they have one of their own or some of their own in the race not to vote? I don't think so. Now they've realized that they are facing a lost battle, but they still want to say something. That's what I see.
All right, Juliet, but how, you talked about contenders knowing the issues at hand, that is the problems, those that are vying for the post of governor in Anambra State. How should whoever wins handle this group called IPOP?
I think that the job of whoever becomes governor has been made easier because
of the proscription.
Because of the proscription, and because before the proscription, governors of the southeast had even banned the activities of IPOP. They came out before now. They were reluctant to openly condemn the activities of IPOP. But when IPOP became an irritant to everyone, the governors had no choice, you know, to call a meeting where they outlawed on their own, they outlawed IPOP before the government, the central government now went ahead to say, look, we are banning the activities of IPOP. So IPOP's activities have significantly gone down. In fact, these days you hardly even read about them.
Yeah.
So I believe that to anyone who who will become the governor of Anambra, he won't contend with IPOP as an irritant anymore. There was a time that even the governor went to church and they harassed him out of the church premises. That's Ebiano. They literally encircled him. The governor had to leave that club, that church in a hurry. I don't think that will happen anymore because the Nigerian forces have shown that they will no longer tolerate this kind of behaviors, you know, on the part of IPOP. And I think that IPOP has wisely retreated. So I don't see any problem along that line for the incoming governor.
Adekunle, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think the best way would be to do a lot of empowerment programs for the youth. Anyone that comes in, either is the government or another person that wins. You know, the moment you take a large chunk of natural, you know, elements, you know, for IPOP, you take them off the radar. There is nobody who is gainfully employed that will be following IPOP. I don't think so. Those you see on the street, most of them are jobless. They don't have anything to do. If you are a banker now, when will you have the time to come and be hosting one red flag? So, do a lot of, you know, programs that can empower the youth. When you empower the youth, you know, tendency for violence or anything against the law will be reduced.
All right, quickly, one question before we move forward. They said initially that they are boycotting the elections because they believe that it is an exercise in futility since Aso Rock has already decided who they want to swear in as a governor, GD.
I don't think it's right to say Aso Rock has decided who they want to make governor of the state. They should stop frightening the people of the state. The people of Anambra State should be encouraged to come out and exercise their franchise. If it is Ebiano that they want to continue, so be it. If it is Tony Nwoye that they want to elect as their governor,
or
so
Chidoka,
be it. Or even Osita Chidoka, IPOP should stop harassing people and they should stop the scaremongering, because that is what I see going on. Scaremongering,
because these statements can actually stop people from coming out.
But now that they have said that they will not disrupt the election, but they will try to discourage people from voting, I think that more people will have the courage to come out. And as I said earlier, there is no fear at all. There is no fear at all of a state of emergency. Nobody can impose a state of emergency in today's Nigeria because it's against our law. Obasanjo did it back then, it was not challenged. But today, we know better. The things that, remember that in the past, we didn't know that even service chiefs deserved to be screened by the National Assembly. It took Keyamo to go to court. Today, we know. So the president cannot choose service chiefs and expect that they won't go through screening because somebody went to court, and we now know that that law is in place. So nobody can stop, can impose a state of emergency on our country. So people should not have that fear. I never had any fear at all that IPOP will be able to disrupt the election. So the issue of, when this man's tenure ends, there will be a need for state of emergency if an election doesn't hold, is wrong. The election will still have held. IPOP would never have been able to stop the election from holding.
All right, let's move on now. All is certainly not well between the former governor of Gombe State, Danjuma Goje, and his supposed political godson, Governor Ibrahim Dakwembu. Just like politicians from other parts of the country, the relationship that exists between Governor Dakwembu and his predecessor has not been cordial since 2011. Their grudge was brought to the public glare on Friday when the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, paid a condolence visit to Goje, who recently lost his wife. He accused Governor Dakwembu of betrayal and abandonment since he assumed office in 2011. But elders of the states have condemned his outburst, claiming that he is reputed for betrayal himself. Most politicians expect loyalty from their successors, the GD.
Honestly, I am disappointed in Senator Goje. Senator Goje was saying that Dankwabo was his wife's godson and that he used to visit the house, but that since he was sworn in, he had not entered the house and all that. You don't choose that kind of setting to talk like that. Here was the governor's wife, wives of the governors of Bauchi, Yobe, and all of them seated. Wife of the president, Aisha, seated. The wife of the president was crying throughout. And you now began to dress down the governor of your state in the presence of these women and other people. And if you have issues with Dankwabo, it shouldn't have been on a day that he came and paid condolence visit to you. Now, he was saying, oh, thank you, Your Excellency, referring to the wife of the president for bringing him to this house that he had not visited for a long time. I mean, there is a limit to politics. Both of them fell apart. You, Dankwabo, you remained in PDP. Danjuma Goje decided to go to APC. So they are no longer political friends. So you don't expect a man who had ceased to be your political partner or political friend to continue to visit your home. Mm. And even if he had offended you, the fact that he came on that condolence visit meant that you shouldn't have chosen that occasion to dress him down. You could have dressed him down somewhere else, not on that occasion. And with all of those women present, I think it was really uncharitable of him to humiliate the governor in the way he did. I
think quickly before we come to you, Adekunle, we have a visual showing where he was addressing the entourage that came to visit him.
da kika taso musamman kika daina tafin da zaki kika tafi musamman har nan gida ki mana ta'aziyya wannan rashi da Allah ya dora mana wanda ikon Allah ne daga karki kokarin shi da mutuwa yana kan kowa lokacin sai ke jira lokaci ya kuma dole za mu tafi yake dade muna muke godiya Allah saka mu da alheri kuma zan daki wannan dama mai nana ta godiya ta musamman ga shi shugaban kasa president Muhammadu Buhari da ɗauyoyin da ya ɗauka tun wannan rasuwa da ya faru. Shi da kansa ya buga min waya, bayan ya buga min waya ya turo tawaga mai ƙarfi jiya na ministoci da kuma manya-manyan yaransa da su muka wannan jana'iza da kuma wasiƙa da kansa wanda ya rubuta da sa hannu. To bai tsaya a nan ba, ya turo ki musamman ke da kanki ka zo. To babu za mu ce masa sai mutum Allah ya saka da alheri. Ko mutanen gwamnatin tarayya mutanensa daga kan mataimakinsa vice president da sakataren gwamnati da na da na yanzu da head of service chief of staff kusan duk ministoci da sauran manyan gwamnatinsa yau.
Well, we have that was the senator there addressing the entourage. You might want to.
No, it's basically part of what I said earlier. He thanked the president's wife for bringing Dankwabo to the house that he used to visit regularly until they fell apart. And I'm saying that it shouldn't have been that occasion. You know, he could choose another occasion to
have made such statements.
Yes, to let the governor know that what he did was wrong. But on a day that they came to pay condolence visits, all those women, and then in their presence, you chose not to respect his office, and then you began to dress him down, calling him your boy, and all that. I mean, for me, it was wrong of Senator Goje.
All right, we have Felix on the line. Are you there? Go ahead.
Yes, gentlemen, ladies.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I want to congratulate you all for the effort you are making to put this program on. And I also want to give a special kudos to DJ by always trying to tackle issues the way they are headlong. It's unfortunate actually what happened in Gombe State. I have a very good friend who is indigent, and we have been interacted. He made me to understand that the present governor is a gentleman who doesn't like to, he doesn't talk much, but he talks majorly on his work. What is put on the table of a poor masses from the government. But I am so surprised to hear the former governor, whom I also respect, making this kind of remarks in the time he does. I think just as today said, there is a limit to which we can play politics in this nation. Let us try to watch our words and be gentle in nature so that we protect to other people, outsiders who are.
All right, Felix, thank you for your contribution. Adekune, you've been itching to say something.
Yeah, when you look at the outburst of Danjuma Goje, there's a lot behind this outburst, in the sense that you know that he has since fallen apart with the governor long before the last election. Yes. They used to be together. You remember when Danjuma Goje was living as governor in 2011? He was always saying it, oh, it's what the people of Gombe want that I want. It's the person that they love that I love, that I will never interfere in this process of who will succeed me. Whether he interfered or he didn't interfere, everybody knew that he played some roles in the emergence of Dankwabo. But after that, Goje was the leader of NPDP, that is the party they called New PDP that broke out of PDP. But at that time, he didn't have one notable politician in the state to follow him. He remained there. Then he moved from there to APC. He forgot the fact that he himself had done worse things to people like President Muhammadu Buhari during CPC days, people like one of Alhaji Hassan, the man that made him politically in that state, and many other ones. So along the line, the governor that he thought would be his son, or political son as be his own man. I don't know of any governor that is doing better than the man in Nigeria. He's somebody that is doing people-oriented, projects. What you see in Gombe, you won't believe. So, but when you look at his track record, he has never been a politician. Of course, he was Accountant General in the state before he became Accountant General of the Federation. But whatever is the case, Dankwabo is not the Danjuma Goje's type of politician. These are people who see public office as a means to serving God, and they are always with the people. So what Danjuma Goje is doing now, with what the governor has done now, is almost impossible for him to come back to that Senate, because many of them rode on the crest of Buhari's popularity in the last election. Yes. So now, with what the governor has done, the first 4 years, then the second 4 years, because APC is having 2 senators in that state, PDP is having 1. I doubt if any APC will win anything in that state in the next election.
The governor has done very well in that state.
So that is one thing that is killing them.
If governor, you see, Goje, as the godfather, didn't support him, yet the governor was able to win the election. So that should tell you that he has become his own man, and the people love him because he has worked. Anyone, I've said it on this program before, that Dankwabo is one of the stars of the PDP. There are people in Nigeria who dismiss everything about the PDP. I'm too objective to dismiss everything about the PDP. I know that there are some good people in the PDP, and Dankwabo, his record of service is there for everyone to see. Anyone who goes to
he doesn't talk.
Yes, you don't see him. It's not controversial.
He doesn't talk.
You know, he was the first to say that he's ready to pay the minimum wage. He said that before any governor in Nigeria. I'm ready to pay the minimum wage of 53,000. Because he has been able, because of his background as an accountant, he's been able to find a way to block avenues through which the resources of the state are leaking. And he's done well, and he was able to get back to that seat without the support of his godfather. That's to tell you that the people like what he's doing.
So with the elders waiting in, we should be seeing a part 2 piece soon.
Hopefully,
There is
hopefully
peace already.
They will talk to both of them, because I don't think this should continue. But I appreciate the maturity that the governor showed by sitting down there and watching
And not saying
Goje insult him without doing anything.
All right, let's move on now. Members of Chibok community have yet again been thrown into mourning. Over the weekend, a staff sergeant in the Nigerian army posted to the community shot a captain dead and 4 other civilians before killing himself. It was gathered that the said sergeant was maltreating some civilians before the captain intervened and tried to disarm him. In the process, the captain, 4 civilians were killed before the sergeant took his own life. Is it not wise that our soldiers are subjected to post-traumatic stress examination, considering the nature of their job? Jide, you've been to the north severally, and you've seen how they work. You've seen how things are, basically. And these are things that could cause trauma, could cause psychological impact on anybody. Could that be the case at this point?
It's a possibility. I've read reports that this particular soldier was drunk, and when they heard that he was molesting some civilians, they decided to get involved with his bosses, and then the superiors sent a sergeant to go and disarm him. At least any soldier in his right senses, when he sees his boss, he will salute, and if he was misbehaving, he will come to his senses immediately. But you see, it's not in all cases that it happens like that. When you put people on the war front for so long, all manner of maladies start manifesting. For example, when a soldier is homesick, he's left his family for 6 months, and there are some of them who have left their families for 6 months.
Even more than that?
Yes. You know, I know that there are some of them. Sometimes when they become homesick, it can really trouble them to the point that depression sets in. You remember even in Afghanistan, an American soldier just took his gun and opened fire on his colleagues. Killed so many of them before he was overpowered. It happens. So I don't know what the problem was with this soldier. All I can advise as someone who has seen this kind of thing happen in other war zones is that we must find a way to reshuffle these people, you know, get some of them taken away from, get some of them taken away from the war front, replaced by other people, so that those of them who are homesick can be allowed to go and reunite with their families and be happy again. If we do not do that constantly, this kind of behavior, misbehavior, will keep happening. It will keep happening.
Much as I like to embrace this theory about war issues, you know, some of these people indulge in alcohol, you know, in their homes and all that.
People do that to possibly clear their heads, to not remember.
Not when you're on an official assignment. When you're on the one front, it's a serious business. And you went as far as molesting civilians. Maybe you are drunk, or the effect of the drunk or the drugs, you know, taking a better part of you. These are things that the leadership of the army should just dig into the bottom of this, because this is dangerous. And to the extent that you open fire on your superiors, this is dangerous. normally we always chastise the soldiers whenever they, you know, point their guns at the civilians. Now, to your fellow soldiers, this is very rare. That's rare. And because this is very dangerous, they should take the matter lightly. They should dig into the bottom of it.
They promise that they will
Because it also exposes how the treatment civilians get under this military personnel when they are asked to protect these people.
Yes, because some of them they go to the town, they mix with civilians. It's not only in the bush that they are deployed. You see some of them at checkpoints, you see some of them just guiding civilian areas generally, because we all know that Boko Haram does not believe in following the known traditions of warfare. They can, if they see children, nursery school children somewhere, they can go and bomb them. So soldiers are deployed in all parts of the Northeast just to protect civilians. So we will always be in contact with them, you know. But I think that as much as possible, the welfare of soldiers should be borne in mind. And these soldiers, they also need counselors. They need counselors. They need clinical psychologists to always talk to them, to spot soldiers who are in distress, soldiers who are depressed, so that they are not the kind of people that you now give arms and ammunition to, because chances are that a soldier who is going through depression, if you give him a weapon, he's going to turn that weapon against innocent people, as we have seen with this fellow. Nobody knows, especially because the army has not come up with the outcome of his investigation. Maybe this guy was actually drunk. Maybe he had smoked Indian hemp. A lot of our security personnel, policemen, they smoke Indian hemp as if it is candy. Yes. They do not see anything wrong in it. We even see policemen, stupid policemen, going out to collect Indian hemp from bad boys that they ought to be arrested.
Yes, they go to joints.
They go to joints with them,
with their uniform.
Smoke with them. You see them with uniform. So policemen who are terribly, terribly undisciplined. So nobody knows what this guy, maybe this guy too, are taking a solution or any of this drug, and then he decided to turn it on. It's the report of the investigation that will show us. But the authorities must take a dim view of what has happened and focus a lot more on what these soldiers are doing, on what their problems are.
Yeah, beyond their problem, also the issue of molestation, how it has to also be dealt with adequately, not just molesting, but how they handle the people that are kept on their care.
You see, even on this program, we've had situations where we, you know, rebuke the military for having some of its, you know, personnel manhandle civilians. Anytime it happens, we normally do. And I think there is a growing, you know, improvement now from what I've observed. But you see some overzealous, you know, soldiers that we still do. So anytime anytime they cross the line, we are always available to, you know, to pounce on them as well.
All right, our time is up, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on the program. Well, that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. Well, our handle is journalist www.tvcnews.tv. You can also watch on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Veronica Danny Boy. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.